All right, fantastic. It says we're live. I'm just going to trust in the process and believe that that's absolutely true. So, welcome everybody. I'm glad to see we have lots of people here inside the Zoom room. Everybody that's here inside Zoom can ask questions, interrupt me. This is super informal, so we're just going to have a little bit of fun with it. I do have kind of a brief outline planned out for us, so we do have some things to take a look at. We're going to start by taking a look at a few of the bases I've set up for this demo purpose.
Here inside the Zoom room.
We got somebody doing some feedback here in the Zoom room. So if you would mute if you're not going to be talking, that way I don't have to try to do it for everybody. Thank you. So I got about 6 bases that we'll look at. I found that a lot of people, when I talk to them about Airtable, it's their imagination that's limiting them, not understanding all the things you could build if you wanted to. So we're going to take a look at a few different bases that I have set up that I use pretty often. We'll go through all those, and then I have an idea for a little base we could build together here on the call, and then we'll do more Q&A. If people have questions, maybe we can go through and actually build some stuff out that y'all are working on. So I'm going to try to limit this to about an hour, but who knows? I have trouble shutting up. So with that, let's jump in and get started. I'm going to share my screen here, and we should be good to go. Can everybody see Airtable all right? I got nodding heads. Fantastic. All right, and it does look like we're good on YouTube. So I'm going to move things out of the way, and we should be good to go. All right, so what I have here is 6 different bases kind of for us to take a look at today, and see how all these work and see if this gives you guys any good ideas here. But like I said, if anybody has any questions, just jump in and interrupt me. It's not going to offend me. We're totally good on all of that. I wanted this Zoom thing to go out of the way, but apparently it's not going to want to do that. All right. So the first one we'll look at is this subscription renewals base. So this one's pretty simple. There's just one table inside of here, but I know we all have all kinds of subscription things that we use inside of our agencies and personal, and keeping track of everything that's going to be billed to you every month seems like a chore. So this is an example of a simple little base you can set up to track all those subscriptions, know when all the renewal dates are, and then I've set up some automations inside this one that will automatically send you an email to let you know that something's about to renew. I know we get emails from a lot of the people that we have subscriptions with. They'll send us reminders, hey, you're about to have to renew on this, but I miss those pretty often. They go into my promotions folder, or I just completely ignore them because I think there's some kind of promotion. So what's nice about this is I kind of get an email from myself. So we'll just walk through this one really quickly. It has the product name here, so you can fill that in with whatever you want. The price, the product URL, which is going to come in handy here when we take a look at the automations. The billing cycle, the renewing date, or the renewal date. And then this is a formula field that's going to show us the next renewal after that, and that's going to become important in this automation too. We have the owner name and the owner email. So the idea with this is you could be tracking some of the software that other people, maybe like clients. So my idea was domain renewals. If some of your clients, they own their domains themselves, but we know it always ends up being our problem when they don't renew their domain when they're supposed to, and we have to go pick up the pieces. So the idea here is you could put other people inside of this and notify them automatically as well. So let's take a look at this formula real quick just before we jump into the automations. This formula is here to automatically replace the renewal date once that renewal date passes. So basically what this is doing is a little bit of calculations to take whatever renewal date you put in here and whatever billing cycle, be it annual or monthly, and then adding that that amount of time to the next renewal. So for instance, if we have something that's on annual, this formula is going to go in here, find the renewal date for whatever that is, and add a year to it. If it's on monthly, it's just going to add a month to it. So we can see this one's supposed to renew on February 4th today. So the next renewal date will be on February 4th, 2023. However, this one is just monthly, so it renews on 6/23. The next renewal is going to be 7/23. So why this is useful is here in the automations, we have something set up to change that renewal date. So what I've done for this trigger, and you could do this 100 different ways, but this seemed simple enough. So what this does is when the renewal date in here, so that's the original renewal date, is 1 day ago, that's when this automation is going to fire. So what it's going to do is it's going to go look up whatever record ID that's in, so whichever renewal date is 1 day ago, and it's going to update that renewal date with whatever values in the next renewal. So to visualize that, tomorrow, since that will be 1 day past this date in this base, it's going to go ahead and take this date and move it over here. Now, once it moves it over there, this formula is going to go ahead and recalculate the next date. So that means once you have this automation in place, you never have to go in and change any of this unless your renewal date changes or unless you cancel the software, and then you probably need to take it out of here anyways. So once the renewal date passes, it's automatically going to re-up for the next period, be it a month or a year. So that's one way to kind of sit it and forget it. And then we have in here setting up an email reminder as well. The email stuff inside of Airtable's automations is pretty great. So what we have in here is when a record matches a condition. So what we're saying in here is when the renewal date is within 7 days, then I want you to fire off this automation. And the automation for this is going to be to send me an email. So Airtable will allow you to send emails from their system, which is how I have this one set up because it was simple. But you can also connect in your G Suite or Workspace or Gmail account into here and send emails, authenticate that and send emails on your behalf through there. So if you wanted to do this, sending it off to a client, you could definitely do that. So what we have inside of this automation is when that renewal date is within 7 days, so kind of a 7 days heads up, you could do that 30 days, whatever you want to do. We want to send an email. Who do we want to send the email to? We're using dynamic conditions or dynamic information for this. So what we're wanting to send the email to is whoever owns this software. So that is information back here in our base. I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but it's going to pull in whatever this owner email field is. So I'm going to jump right, went to the wrong one. Jump right back in here. Jump into that email. It's pulling in that owner email here. In the subject, we're pulling in more dynamic data, pulling in the product name. So it's going to pull in the name of the product and say renewal reminder. And this is just static information. And then inside the body of the message here, we have quite a bit of information. So, hey, and then it's bringing in the owner's name. This is just a friendly reminder that the license for whatever the product name is due to renew on the renewal date. The renewal price is, bring in more dynamic information, and then it says you can log into whatever that product URL is to renew or cancel this software before it expires. So we can scroll down here and hit this preview email button, and it should pop up a little window, but now it's going to think on me for a while. I might have to test all this again. All right, so now we can go in here and try it again. No, it's still not wanting to behave. Well, it should show us a little preview of this email, but it's not wanting to cooperate, probably because we're doing this live with a bunch of people watching.
Do you have to test the action first and then preview, or?
Maybe so, but that there it went. There you go. All right, so it is pulling in this dynamic information. It pulled in the thank you, Leanne. It pulled in the owner of whatever the software is, email address. This is the name of the software, renewal date, the renewal price, the URL to log in. So those are a couple ways you can set up just some reminder type things. What I really like about this base is really just that date automatically updating. So once you put these things in here, you never have to think about it again, and you'll get nice friendly reminders every time your software or your renewals come up. So hopefully that's a little helpful one. We'll look at this one here, which is, and like I said, interrupt me if you have questions. This one here was kind of a challenge to myself. I was wondering, could I set up a system, since you can set up automations in here, you can send off emails. Could I set up something where somebody could use an Airtable form, which we're going to look at inside this base, fill in a form, and I send them, like, deliver a lead magnet to them. So I could embed this form on my website or just send them to the Airtable URL for the form. They sign up for something, and then we deliver them a lead magnet. So that's exactly what I've done inside the space. It did take me a while to figure that out. But what we have inside here are two different tables. So there's a leads table and a lead magnet table. So in this lead magnet table here, you can just put in all kinds of different lead magnets. So you can see I have lead magnet 1 and lead magnet 2. I got really creative on these. And then I've dropped in whatever that file is. So if you're wanting to send them a PDF or whatever that deliverable might be, you just match those up in these lead magnets. So you could go in here and add as many as you needed to. Of course, for the purpose of this, 2 is fine. And then here inside the leads table is where we're going to keep track of all of our leads. So I have a couple in here where I've already tested this, but we'll go through and test it again. I think we can do that live on this call.
And then there's 2 boxes.
And if you don't mind, if you're not talking, if you'll hit the mute button, I'd appreciate it. All right. So inside of here, what we need to do to actually make all this work is create a separate Airtable form for each one of the lead magnets. So you can see over here inside my views that I have a couple of
a table and then leave.
Sorry, it's so distracting when I hear other voices.
Hey, Mark, why don't you mute yourself, bro? Mark.
Maybe that would work.
Sorry.
All right, I got him here. Got it. Okay, fantastic. All right, so what I have in here are 2 different forms. So Airtable allows you to build forms right inside Airtable. If you haven't seen that before, it's really easy. It will bring in all the fields you have in there. You can drag and drop those fields in here and create a form. If you're on the free version, which I am using the free version on this demo, so everything in here is available inside the free version. If you're on the paid version, you can like turn off the branding and you can redirect people and do some extra things, which is nice. But you absolutely don't have to have that to make all this work. So I've created this form here for lead magnet 1. You could put in a title, you could put in a description, then you're going to have the person put in their name, their email, and then submit the form. You can put in a custom message. I didn't bother with that on here, but you'd probably want to let them know you're sending them the form. Same thing for lead magnet 2. It looks exactly the same, but here in the automations, when we take a look, you'll see why you have to have 2 different ones. So once somebody fills this in, it's going to go ahead and put in their name and their email address into the database. And then the automations are going to be what goes in here and assigns them which lead magnet they signed up for and which file goes along with that lead magnet. And then we're going to email that to them. So everything set up in this base is really simple. It's just a few automations that make all this work. So you have to set up a separate automation for each one of these, but it's fairly simple, and then you could just duplicate it for each new lead magnet you make. So what we have in here inside the automations is this is triggered when a form is submitted. So it says when a form is submitted in the leads table from the lead magnet number 1 form. So in the other automation, it just says lead magnet number 2 form. So that is going to be the action that happens that triggers off this automation. And then once that automation gets triggered, once somebody submits that form, we're going to do 2 actions. So the first action we're going to do is we're going to update their record inside the database. So we're going to go inside that table for leads, and we're going to take the record ID, which is the ID of the form they just submitted, essentially. And we're going to assign inside the lead magnet field, we're going to assign them lead magnet number 1, since that's the form we're pulling in. You have to manually type this in here, but as long as it's matched the same as it's listed out in those lead magnets, it will work fine. So all we're going to do here is assign them lead magnet 1 in this first step. So when we do that, it's going to put this lead magnet number 1 next to their name. We'll pretend there's another one here. And then this next field is a lookup field. So a lookup field works by taking some kind of information in here and looking at what's associated with it. So in this case, we're looking up the file that's associated with lead magnet 1. So if I put another lead magnet 1 in here, it's going to pull in that same file because it's just looking up which file is associated with this lead magnet. So we'll jump back in here into the automation and look at step number 2. So step number 2 is we're going to send an email. So what we'll do in here is find the email address that the person submitted. We can put in whatever we want as the subject. You could use dynamic content in here as well as you'd like. And then you could put dynamic content in the actual message of this. So you could put in here, hey, whatever your name is, here's the delivery of whatever you're downloading, right? And then we have an attachment field here, and this is actually using the dynamic content of that file for this lead magnet. So it's going to pull in whichever lead magnet you have associated to this. So we should be able to, again, preview this email. We'll see if it works. Okay, so we can see it's pulling in that test information. Your lead magnet is here. Here's your lead magnet. And it's showing here that there is something attached to this email. So they would get whatever this attachment is. So if we look at this form real quick, and I'm realizing already that we're probably going to have to speed through this a little bit if I want to get to everything. So this is plain Jane what the form looks like, but we can say demo at theadminbar.com and hit submit. And after we do that, we can jump back in here and look at this table. And the automation takes just a second for it to fire off, but we can see that this has already come in. Oh, you know why? It didn't automatically fire off because I had this automation turned off. We'll have to turn that back on for that to actually work. That's an important step. So let's try it again. Open form. Demo 2. All right, now if we're quick enough, we should see Demo 2 came in, and now the automation fired, assigned it lead magnet number 1, looked up what file that is, and now it's sent off an email to deliver that lead magnet. So there's another creative idea of what you can do inside of Airtable. I see there's lots of chats going on here, but with all I have managing, I can't manage trying to read that too. So if you do have questions, just speak up. I'm happy to be interrupted. All right, so I'm going to whiz through a couple of these other ones real quick because I realized that my time management estimation was not really great. So the next one we have in here is a project management board. So this is based off the project management board I use inside of my system. I know before we started this call, Beth was asking about project management stuff. So essentially, you can go in here and build a project management system that completely meets your needs, right? So what I have in here are 3 different tables. There's one for contacts, and this is going to manage all of my contacts, so actual people, and the companies that they work for. So you can see in here we have the name of the company, the contact, their email, their phone number, what kind of lead source I got them from. As we look into the projects, this links to their projects, and we're looking up their customer lifetime value with this roll-up field, which is another pretty awesome little field inside Airtable that will go find other data and then perform a calculation like add it all together or find the average. So what I'm using it for here is to look up all the projects I've done for this customer and how much they're worth to me in total. So you can, of course, track as much information as you'd like inside here. For this demo purpose, this is, a base amount of information. I think inside my contacts table, there must be 50 different data points I'm collecting on all these people. But in here, we also have projects. So in projects, we have lots of different fancy stuff. So we have the title of the project, which is just something I use to be able to quickly reference what we're talking about since I might be doing several projects with one customer. We have the status, which is a single select field. So I've set up a bunch of different statuses for these projects: an opportunity, an upcoming project, an open project, an ongoing project, completed. You can read. So you can go in here and pull down this menu and select what the status of the project is. Same deal here for type. So I can set up the different kind of projects I work on. So generally categorizing them as a website build, marketing or SEO, or website management like a care plan. Here's where I link this project to a customer. So these linked, the linked fields inside of Airtable are what make Airtable really what it is, because we're able to build relationships between different tables. So, if you think about Excel or Google Sheets or something, you can have individual spreadsheets in there, but you can't link all the data together easily. So what's nice about in Airtable is everything is relational. So now I can say, okay, this project belongs to this customer, and I can double click on this and see all my information about this customer. And we'll see as we get further into this database, we can even track down to the tasks that I've done for this project and for this customer. So you have a million different ways you can analyze and use all this data. Other information I'm collecting inside of here is the first time I contacted this, or was contacted by this customer, or with this project specifically. This works like when I have a new opportunity and somebody's reaching out to me about a possible project, I like to track that first date I had contact with them, so I know how long that courting process takes. The project start date, the project finish date, the project value. A different column here for recurring value because we need to track that a little bit differently. My billing frequency, so if I'm billing them one-off, monthly, quarterly, annually, and again, calculating some lifetime value for that as well. Now, what's nice in here inside of Airtable is you can set up lots of different views. So in this overview view, I'm seeing every kind of project I have going on inside the agency, right? But I might want to get in here and just see the opportunities that I might have. I think at this point in time inside this demo, I don't have any opportunities. But if I'm hurting for new work or I need to go follow up with any estimates I've put out, I'd be able to find all those here inside the opportunities. If I just need to work on upcoming projects, this is going to filter out upcoming projects. Here's where we'll actually get to see some data where I can see all my open projects. So essentially what this view is doing is just filtering which bits of data it's going to show me. So in here, I have this filtered where the status is open. So this is only going to show me the projects inside this table that are listed as the open status. So again, same thing with ongoing projects. This is where I put all my care plans, and I could go see all my care plan clients. I can see all my dead or completed projects, and I've created a form to easily be able to go add new projects in here. You do get a URL from Airtable to be able to go access these forms. So you can bookmark this in your browser, on your phone, wherever you're at. You can access these forms and be able to input data in here. And then lastly, we have a table in here for tasks. So this is what I use to manage all the tasks. So if I need to get up in the morning and build out a page and send off an email or whatever those tasks may be, I put them all inside of this table here, and then I link them to projects. So you can see in here we have some to-dos, and these to-dos have a task title like send onboarding documents, run plugin and theme updates, run broken link checker. I made up some tasks, right? And then I've assigned these to specific projects. So I could always click in here because it's relational and see all the information about this project. We have status here of these tasks. So I've built out some different statuses: stalled, to do, waiting, proofing, finished. The due date for that task, and then any additional notes. You can go in here and put additional notes in there. Now, just like that projects table that we were looking at, we have different views in here. So this is where my brain is most comfortable, is kind of looking at this like a spreadsheet, but I know a lot of people prefer to use something like Trello where you have cards and you can move it around. All that's available in Airtable too. So this is all organized by the status. So I can take something that's stalled and just drag it right over into to-do. And if we go back and look in here, you'll see the one I just dragged. I don't remember which one it was, but now it's been moved here into to-do. So all of these are, it's all the same data. It's just different ways to look at it. Of course, I can filter this down and say, I just want to see my to-do tasks. I just want to see the things that are outproofing or I'm waiting on, or I could go back and see completed tasks. Same thing, we have a form here where we can easily enter tasks. So I use this all the time on my phone. I will open up my phone when I'm at the grocery store or waiting in line somewhere or laying in bed and I'm like, oh shit, I really need to remember to do that. I can pop open this form real quick and be able to input stuff into my project management pretty easily. There are a couple automations in here. I'm not going to go through all of them just because of time, but you saw that one of the statuses on there was identified stalled projects. So this automation is going through this, all the projects in there and finding any that haven't been updated in a certain amount of days, and then changing the status from whatever status it's in to stalled. So you can set this up, especially, it's especially handy when you're waiting on a customer. So if it's outproofing or something, that's how I use it, is if it's been outproofing for 7 days, I want you to change the status to stalled. So I will know that that hasn't been moving the way it should, and I need to reach out to that customer. Another thing you might want to do inside of these automations is if you have some processes, you can go in here and create automations that will automatically, once you put in a new type of project, it will go ahead and create a bunch of tasks for you. Or once you move a project into a certain phase, you could have it create a bunch of tasks for you. So that's nice. If you have like a certain process you walk through every time, you can have the automations automatically build out that list of tasks you need to do. Lastly, in here, I have a email that's set up that will go ahead and email today's to-dos to me. So in the morning when I get to my office and open up my email, I have an email from Airtable saying, hey, Kyle, here's everything you need to do today, which is just handy as I'm going through my inbox and trying to plan out my day. So any questions before we move on from this space? Everybody's being quiet.
Kyle, is there an ability for you to, if you've created a base like this, to I don't know, turn it into a template or something to share with other Airtable users?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll go into that here at the end of this too. But
I was gonna say, and where do I pay and how much for the base you just showed us? 'Cause
I
dang.
got you. Hang tight for the end of this call, okay?
Kyle,
Yes.
do you ever use that base or a part of it to email clients to show them what you've completed?
Yeah,
in
so
your project?
you definitely could. I get a little nervous firing off emails to clients based off automation unless I'm really sure, because especially as a one-man show, sometimes I'm not keeping that database perfectly updated to the minute, and it just leaves a lot of opportunities where something could technically need to fire off and Airtable fires it off because it's doing exactly what I've told it to do, except maybe I didn't update the data the way I should. So I don't do that personally, but you could absolutely do it.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. All right. So quick, this one will be a super quick one. So a while back, I was working on I was working on redesigning all my care plan packages. So since I use Airtable for everything, why not for this? So what I've done in this space is set up a way for you to build out different productized services. So in here, inside of these packages, I've created 3 different packages: bronze, silver, gold. I've given each one of those packages a cost, and then the rest of this information is are being handled dynamically through these other tables. So what's nice about this is I can go in here and just list out all the deliverables that are possible through, in this case, a care plan, right? So I listed 13 different deliverables I might want to deliver through a care plan. And then I can assign which package those deliverables should belong to. So I can say, everybody gets these deliverables, only gold and silver get these deliverables, and only gold gets these deliverables. So I can go back in here into these packages and see everything that's included with each one of these packages. So this isn't necessarily something that would be client facing, but I found it really helpful for me to be able to figure out which should go in which package and which would make sense. And then I also had an additional thing for add-ons. So they're things that weren't necessarily included inside of that package, but could be added on as a service. So in here, for example, we have Google Business Profile Optimization. That's a $500 one-time fee, and it's available only for the silver and gold packages. Google My Business or Google Business Profile Management, $50 a month, and let's say that's only available in gold. And then we've built in a dependency. So I'm saying it's only available in gold, and you would have to have already purchased this Google Business Profile Optimization. Termageddon, I use them for all my legal policies, so I can put that in here as an add-on. It's $100. It's annual. It's available on all the packages. Directory citation, so you can go to something like Bright Local and buy a pack of 10 citations, charge whatever price you want on that, and then make that available in some of the packages. So if we go back and look at these packages, we can see which package it is, how much it costs, what's included, and the available add-ons. I'm sorry, did somebody have a question I spoke over?
Yeah. Kyle, hey man, it's Noah. I got a question.
Yeah.
Are you figuring in your profit margins here? Because I was just thinking you are saying all your costs, right, for your services, what you're including. Do you do your profit margin on this one too?
You could absolutely do that. I did not build that into this. I'm trying to think if there's one in this demo where you can see that. I think in what I was planning on building live today, I have some options for doing that. But you could absolutely go in here and assign prices to each one of these deliverables. You could say, this costs me X amount per customer. This costs me Y. This costs me Z. And then you could figure out what your actual costs are on all those, and then set up whatever you want your margin to be, and it could spit out like a retail price for you. So all that's certainly possible.
Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a question.
Go for it.
When you first started with Airtable, did you start with the free version and then move up as you needed things, or did you just go straight for the Mac Daddy?
Yeah, I used the free one for like a year, I think, before I ever upgraded to the paid one. So you can get pretty far. They do have some limits on the apps, which I'm not even going to touch inside this call. There are a bunch of applications you can add into Airtable. I don't use a ton of them, but that's one of the restrictions on the free plan is I think you can use, I'm not familiar with all the plans, but you can only use one or you don't get the apps or whatever. And you're limited on the amount of automations you can run. So that's why I had to upgrade, is because I needed way more automations than what was allowed on the free tier. I have, 50 something bases here inside my Airtable account. So all of them with automation. So I ran across those limits pretty quickly.
Thanks.
No problem. All right. I'm going to save this one for last here. So we're going to look at this job applications one. This one is one I whipped up just for this, but I've actually used this inside of our table program. So when people apply to join table, they actually fill out a Airtable form. It goes into a database where I track tons of information, where I know, the size of their agency and what they're looking to get out of it, and all the things I would need to qualify them for table, and then which table they would fit into. What's nice about that is it's all contained in one place, and I can sort through all this data. So I just did this for this demo purposes, just a more generic job application. So what we have in here are two tables inside here, candidates and positions. So we would probably start with positions and say, okay, these are all the positions inside of our agency that we're hiring for, or in consideration, or have already hired for. So we have like the name of the position, the status. Inside the status, we have either open, future consideration, or closed. We have candidates, which we'll link to, and you'll see that in a second. You can put in a job description. You can put in the pay schedule. I did this as a single select field where we have hourly, salary, or project-based. Location, again, a single select field if it's in-house or remote. The pay, so if it is like an hourly or salary thing, you can put that in here. And the start date. So we do have different views in here where you can see just the open positions, just the closed positions, or just future positions you might be hiring for. And then we flop in here into the candidates section. So we'll open this all candidates. So what's nice about this is how easily you can sort through all this data. Let's say you got 100 different applications in here. Well, you can go through and create all kinds of filters to sort through this pretty easily. So we can see people that have applied here. We can see people we have an interview scheduled with. We can see we've already rejected this asshole Kyle Van Duzen. We'll never hire him. And then we see people that we've already hired. They will all do these applications through an Airtable form where we've taken all the fields we want them to fill out that are inside this and then put it into the form. So if we look at the form, you could have, the title of the form, the description. They fill in their name, their last name, their location, the position they want to apply for. So when they click this, they see only the open positions available. They attach their resume, which they can attach a file there. They can say what their availability is, if they're only looking for part-time, full-time, or as needed. And then we have some kind of like long text fields where you might want to ask them some questions like, why are you applying for the job? How did you hear about it? Tell us about your strengths. So they would go in and fill that out. And when they do, it automatically puts all that data right here inside of Airtable. So you can imagine if this was filled with hundreds of applicants, we could go through here and try to filter out which is the best one for each position. So we might say, okay, right now I really just need to be looking at people that have applied for the VA position, right? So we have this part-time VA. We could go in here and filter this and say the position contains VA. Oh, I can't type. VA. So when we do that, we would only see all the applicants that applied for VA. Now we could say, okay, we only want to see the ones that are part-time. So we can stack these conditions and we can say where the schedule, let's see, has any of, we'll say part-time, right? So now this would filter this list down to just those candidates. So we can quickly go through and filter all those candidates out to find the ones that might be a good fit for this position, and then schedule interviews with them and kind of move them along through the process, applied, interviewed, made offer, all that. So any questions on this one? All right, super self-explanatory. All right, so this is the craziest one I have. This is the product of like 3 weeks of trying to figure out how to make this work. And what I've created here is a project estimator database. So I would preface this by saying I would never price projects out just from what a calculator spit out to me, because there's so much nuance that go into projects. But I do find when I'm pricing things, sometimes I wonder, is this $5,000 or is this $10,000? I can't tell. So what this little base does is help me kind of figure out, okay, based on the prices I usually charge, this project should be around this price. So this one's fairly complicated. We'll try to whiz through it here so we can do some of this live building as well. In this first table here is where we actually do the estimating. So you can see I've already put in a pretty generic website build, setting up the theme, a home page, an about page, a services page, a blog hub page, a blog single post page, and a contact page. And then all of this is dynamically bringing in prices from these tables that we're going to take a look at. And then it's spitting out a total based on formulas through all of this. So this would take a long time for me to explain, but this last field is just adding everything up essentially. And then at the bottom down here, it's showing us a total price for this project. So what you have to do inside of a base like this is set up all this base pricing. So I said, okay, what kind of assets can be inside of a website? So we could have a small page, a medium page, a large page. I might want to charge differently for those. Setting up the theme. So everything you'd have to do to kind of, set up the WordPress install, get everything installed, plugins and themes installed, set everything up. You might want to charge for that. If you wanted to go so granular as to charge for each form or modal, you could do something like that and have a per item price for all those things. So I've set up prices in here and gave all those a description. So then there's other aspects, of course. So copywriting. So in my agency, I give my clients 3 options. Either they provide copy, we work on copy together, or we just hire a professional copywriter. So instead of a direct price for these, I've set these up as a multiplier. So if the client provides copy, I don't add anything on to that. But if I have to collaborate with them on copy, I'm going to use this 1x multiplier basically. So I'm going to take whatever this asset is and I'm going to add that same amount to it. So a small page and they want me to help them with copywriting. Copywriting is going to be another $100 on top of the price for this page. So if they want to hire a copywriter, a small page is going to be $200. So we do the same kind of thing for design, except we have either the client provides the design. Sometimes they might bring you Figma files or something that's ready to go. I don't charge extra for design if they're providing the design. If we're going to use something like a template, then we have a small multiplier of 25%. If we're going to completely custom design something, we have a multiplier of 1x. Same idea here for dynamic data. So if we're having to bring in a lot of dynamic data, advanced custom fields, all that, I wanted to be able to price for that. So no dynamic data, standard, which I basically use as if like there's just some widget that's going to bring in all the posts or something. There's no advanced configuration, or custom if I'm going to have to start writing queries and stuff for that kind of dynamic content. And then lastly, this is my pain in the ass multiplier. So I call it complexity in case anybody ever sees it. I don't want to say pain in the ass, but this is how hard is this job going to be, or how big of a pain is this client? So low complexity, we don't charge extra for that. Medium, we charge 50% multiplier on top of everything. High complexity, we basically double everything. And extreme complexity, we go even higher. So let's take a look at how all this works in action. I'm just going to, I'm going to delete all this stuff out of here for now. And we'll just start from the beginning. So we can say the home page is going to be a medium page, and we just need one of them. Well, automatically this formula is going to tell us this is $200, but we haven't finished filling all this out. We can say, okay, we're going to use a templated design. The client's going to provide copy. There's going to be no dynamic content, and it's low complexity. Okay, well, this page is about $250 worth of budget. Now, just for an example, we'll do something more complex and see what it does. We can say this page is a large page. We need one of them. It's going to have a custom design. We're going to hire a professional copywriter. It's going to have custom dynamic content. You can see we're already up to 1320 on this, and we're going to say it's extremely complex. So now we've said, okay, well, a page like this should be $3,600 or $3,630. So it's not perfect by any means. I would never say that it is, but it has been really helpful in me just saying, okay, what's the ballpark I should be in for this? And I can go in and basically just line out the sitemap of a project and be able to get somewhere within a ballpark. Of course, I've massaged all these numbers in my personal project estimator to more directly align with the prices I normally charge. So what I did to do that was put in a bunch of past projects, put in all the deliverables for those past projects and what I charged. So if I was let's say if I was happy with the price I charged, that's what I was trying to make this calculator end up with, right? So I had to kind of go backwards and figure out where all these prices should be to make sense. So it was, I'll be honest, it was days, weeks, and maybe a month's worth of work to get this any kind of place where I was comfortable. And like I said, there's nuance. There's a million factors that go into this. I would never just hand somebody a price based off of this, but it has been really helpful for like the sanity check part of it. So any questions on this one before we move on?
I have a question, but it's not specifically about this.
Okay.
I mean, it's about Airtable. So I'm got all these ideas now of ways that I can use this to create some things to give to my students to help streamline their project management. Is that how does that work? I mean, is that possible? Like I can create these things and then provide them as a tool for my students that use Airtable? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, look here, I'll go back and share my screen again. Any kind of base here, you have a share button at the top right. You can share an entire workspace, which is like your collection of bases. Typically, you don't want to do that unless it's like somebody on your team that you're going to be collaborating with. The scenario you're talking about, you want to share this out with somebody. So we could say we just want to share this base. We would share this base here with this link. We would give them a copy of it. They would go to this URL, and when they do, up at the top right-hand side, it's going to say copy base, and they can copy that base into their own account. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's try to spend a couple seconds here just creating a base from scratch.
Can I have a question quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So the forms that that Airtable uses, can they be styled? Because they look kind of, vanilla.
Yeah, not really. So let's jump back into this job application one. On the Pro version, you can add a cover image up here and you can add a logo, but other than that, there's no styling options. So you can embed these forms. So you could design a nice page in WordPress and then embed just the form. That would work as well. But yeah, it's pretty plain Jane.
Kyle, if you embedded it, would you be able to do like CSS or anything to style within it, or can you literally just style around the box?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried it. My guess is it's like an iframe. So I'm thinking not, but I don't know that for sure. Noah, do you know that answer?
Yeah, I'm not aware you can do any styling like that because it is embedded.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I had a quick question
Yeah.
about the forms. So what's your opinion about using the Airtable forms instead of something, another form, a typical form plugin in WordPress?
So I'm only using the Airtable form if I need that data to go directly into Airtable, right? So if it's like a contact form on my website that doesn't need to go, I don't need to store all that data in Airtable. Of course you could, that'd be great. But if I don't need that, then I'm just going to use, whatever form solution I have in WordPress. But if it's something that I need to store in Airtable, then I tend to use these forms. You have the styling problem. Of course, if you don't like the way it looks, then you're kind of stuck with that. But yeah, I use it if I need to get that information into Airtable.
And do you feel like
sexy? I was gonna say, if you need a sexy form, just create a sexy form in Gravity Forms and hook it up to Zapier, and then do whatever you want with the data, including sucking it into Airtable.
Yep.
right? So is the do you feel like the emails are reliable? Because that's one of the issues with forms is
I've never had an issue
just the reliability.
whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah, I got tons of these forms and I've never had a problem. I know Alicia uses this a lot and Noah uses a lot. Have y'all had any problems with the forms?
Ever. If I ever have an issue, it's with Zapier or something
Right.
like that. It's never,
Yeah,
I've never with the direct Airtable form, never had an issue.
Yeah, me neither. And I wonder, does anybody ever use like Postmark or SendGrid, or is it just that Airtable's email sending is just so good so far?
Yeah, I mean, I connect my Gmail, my Google Workspace account in there to like send the emails through the automations. That's not necessarily connected with forms that we're talking about, and that's been completely reliable as well. But Yeah, that's my only.
Is there some kind of SMTP setup that has to happen to ensure that reliability, or?
No. I think what's happening is it's Airtable sending like on your account's behalf. So you just have to authenticate it by like giving Airtable, like logging into your G Suite account through Airtable to authenticate that connection. But yeah, I haven't had any problems with deliverability, but I think all that's like Airtable systems handling all that. So they're probably better at email than I am anyway. So I'd rather them do that.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
And I apologize if you went over this and I missed it.
You're good.
But do the tables, how did you created a number of different bases?
Mhm.
Do they talk to each other? So, like for instance, you have the lead magnet. Like when somebody came in on the lead magnet, now they're actually a lead. So you might want to put them into, but you had created that as a different base.
Yeah, so there is a way to sync bases together. I haven't done a lot of it myself. I try to build a base like as comprehensive as I can, so everything's within it. But you can link data from one base to the other. But I think there are some limits on like if you're pulling in data from another base, you can't edit it from the base you're pulling it into. You'd have to go back to the source base to update that information. So for me, it's like a ton of moving parts. So it's usually I try to like put fences around everything where, all this information is related. So it all goes into one Airtable base, even though it might be in separate tables within that base. And then any unrelated information goes in a completely separate base. So in your example, if somebody filled out if they signed up for a lead magnet and I delivered it and then we ended up being customer, I would probably never link all those things back together. You'd probably have to go do that manually if they're in two separate bases, or you could try the sync thing. But to me, that's a whole lot more hassle than it'd probably be worth in that scenario.
So you keep multiple bases for your company. We just started using it, and we just have this one map base that I can see is getting kind of unwieldy. So I'm trying to figure out, like, if you just sort of continue to build this one unwieldy base, or if we just give it all up and say, okay, no,
there's a fine line, right? So having all the information linked together is really valuable, but at some point it gets so crazy that it's unmanageable, right? So I have, like I said, more than 50 bases inside of my account. Some of them I use daily. Some of them I rarely touch, but I do have a ton in there, plus all the ones I've used for demos and shared and all that. So I wouldn't hesitate to use multiple bases. You just got to think about, does all this data relate, or can it kind of be isolated? So for instance, I have my project estimator. I don't really need all that to link in with my project management system. Like those two things can happen completely independent of each other, and trying to put all that together is too much,
Awesome. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah. All right, let's jump in here and build something out real quick for folks. So the idea I had in here today was to just build out a simple little base to manage all your care plan clients. So I think this give us the ability to look at a few different things and kind of see how this works building something from scratch. So when you create a new base, Airtable is going to go ahead and create these default fields in here. I just delete them all out, and that's what I see everybody else do as well. So we'll start here. So I like to, one important thing with Airtable is as you start using it, you learn that it's a really good idea to kind of map out how all this is going to work before you start building stuff. Otherwise, you have to rebuild a lot of things. So I'll usually start at the top of the hierarchy here, and I'm going to say, I'm in this instance, I'm going to need 3 different tables. So the first table here is going to end up being all my care plans. In the second table here, I'm going to create an empty table, and I'm going to say, these are all my clients. And then in a third table here, I'm going to have a base that will have all the information about the different plans I have available. So we'll just call this plans. And I'll have to go back and delete out all these fields again.
Hey, Kyle, real quick question. Right there where you added the clients one, I noticed it says add or import. Would import be where you would link? So if you had a base that already had your clients?
No, what you have to do in that is use, I don't even remember where the sync thing is now. Oh, sync data from an Airtable base. So this is where you would do that right there. So that's how you could sync it from another base in your account.
And that's an ongoing sync. That's not a one-time import, right?
Right. It will update that. I don't know how quickly that interval is, but it updates it like constantly for the most part. I don't think, maybe it's every minute or something like that, but it's pretty regularly. You can import. So if you have like a bunch of stuff in Google Sheets or Excel, you can import all that as well. All right, so let's take a look at all this. So we're going to start here with I'm going to actually change the name of this to packages because I do have some formulas in a test I did, and I want to make sure I don't screw all this up. So in here, we might have the name of our packages, kind of like we did when I was showing you that productized service one. So we might just say we have bronze, silver, gold packages. And we could have the retail price of this. So we could say retail, whatever this retails for. And in here, we can have a currency field, which is an available field inside of Airtable. We have this set to dollars, right? We can also have expenses. So back to Noah's point earlier, if you wanted to be able to get more granular about like your markup and everything, you could absolutely do that. I'm not going to go that far in this one, but we can look at kind of our profit margin on things. So we'll do expenses as a currency, and then we'll go in here and create a formula for our profit. So we can say profit, and we'll do this as a formula field. Formula fields in Airtable are absolutely amazing. There's tons of documentation. For me, it was really confusing in the beginning, and I still have to look up documentation on anything complex, but there's tons of power inside here. For this example, it's going to be easy. We're going to say the retail price, and that pulls up this field, minus expenses, right? And that's going to be what it spits out here. You can go in here into this formatting tab and change how you want to format whatever this formula spits out. We're going to want to have currency, so we'll say currency. We are going to link some other things here in a bit, but we'll start with just this. So we could say, the bronze package, we're going to charge $75. The silver is $100 and the gold is $200. Let's say we run all the numbers and we have our expenses. We have, $12 a month into the cost for the bronze package, $15 into the silver, and $50 for the gold, right? So now it's going to tell us what our profit margin is on each of these, just as an example of something quick and easy you can do with formulas. So we'll bounce over here to the clients tab, and this is where we're going to put in all of the information about our clients. So this first record here we might want to say is the company name. Then we can have the primary contact. So this can also just be a single line of text. We'll create that. We might want to track their, contact information. So we could say email. And that's a specific type of field here in Airtable. We could say we want to track their phone number, so we can have that. That's another field type in here. And then let's create a link between the clients and the packages, because each one of these clients is going to be need to be assigned a package. So what we can do in here is say package, and we can link this to another record. So what we're going to do is we're going to link this to our packages, which is this table up here. And we can choose whether we want to link this to multiple records or just single records. In this case, we're probably just going to want to link it to a single record. So I'm going to deselect that and create field. This automatically asks you if you want to look up any other fields. Right now, we're not going to, so I'll just close that. But let's just say we have in here, Joe's Plumbing, and the contact, his name is Joe, and he's Joe at plumbing.com, and his phone number is 555-555-1234. All right, so Joe is on a care plan with us now, and let's say he selected the bronze care plan. So now we've linked Joe to this specific package, right? And these are two-way relationships, so we can also go back when we created that link, it created over here as well. Now we can see all the clients that are on this package, which is going to become handy here in a second. So we'll just fill in a little bit of this. We'll say Pat, Pat's Pizza, and that is Pat, and Pat at pizza.com. We'll just give Pat the same number because I don't have time to make fake numbers. Say Pat got the silver package, and then we'll have Sue's accounting Sue at sue.sue. Perfect. And we'll say Sue also picked the silver package, right? So now if we go back in here into packages, we can see we have 2 people on this silver package. And where this comes in handy, this linked relationship, is we can do a few fun things with it. So we could say like account. And what we could do here is an actual count field. And we could count the number of clients. Let's see. Oh, crap. Count. We can count the number of clients on this package. So we can see here that in our bronze package, we have 1 client in that. In the silver package, we have 2 clients. Now that's easy to see because we have low numbers here, but if you had 40 in this one, you'd have to like expand this record way out and try to count them manually. So this will really quickly count up how many we have on each one of these packages. And the other nice thing about this is we could say like package value, and if I could spell, and we could do a formula field here, and we could create a formula to see how much profit we have off of each one of these packages. So we could say, take the profit and then multiply it, which we do with just a little star, by the count, how many people we have on that package. And we can create that field. I forgot to change the formatting here to currency. And we can see that we're bringing in $170 in profit a month off of this package and $63 a month off this package. So again, once you have tons of data in here, you would see that you would be able to see trends where, okay, this package is obviously doing way better for us, or this package isn't performing at all. What do we need to look at inside that package because we're not making any money off of it?
Hey, Kyle, quick question about now that we've got dollar signs on there. If you're working with multiple members of your team, first of all, can you have like, I don't know, delegated access or user seats or something like that? And then can you restrict access? Like, I don't want the team members to be able to access the profit and loss database.
Right. So there are those options in here. Because I work solo, I don't play with those a lot. So I'm probably not the best person to ask on all this, but there are those options in there where you can share these with multiple people, and then you can restrict, what views they can see. So I think that's the best way to do it, is to just create certain views where that information's only visible in that view, and only specific people have access to see that view. So you would only see the financials while your employees would just see the tasks, right? So all that is possible within here. Now you do have the way the pricing plan works with Airtable is you pay per user in these accounts. So if you are on a paid plan and you have a large team, this can get expensive pretty quick. I don't remember the cost of the packages off the top of my head. Let's say it's $10 a month, right? And you have 10 people. Well, you're paying $100 a month for Airtable. So it can get fairly expensive fairly quick. But on the free version, you can do a lot as well.
So with the free version, you can have multiple users?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can have 5 free collaborators.
There you go. Thank you, Noah.
Airtable actually in the future they're going to have more granular like ways to share it with each other, but right now it's actually a little sucky. You kind of, when you give somebody access to your base, they have access to your whole base. I'm kind of working on that right now, where I'm like the functionality is coming out a little bit later on, but it's kind of sucky right now.
Yeah. And
you can't do any of the private views or hide anything on the free plan though. So you can add collaborators, but you can't limit anything that they see on the free plan.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you guys for that.
But you could do user access to individual bases without doing the whole workspace. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you could just share certain bases with them.
So you have your
they'd be able to see everything in that base if you're on the free plan.
Right. All right. So one last thing I want to build inside this is kind of the intersection of the care plans, of the packages and clients. So this is where we want to manage all this information about a care plan. So this is where this kind of base comes in really handy for me when I want to know all the information about this project, right? So we're going to have to build several different fields into this. So this is going to kind of link together. Like I said, it's kind of a junction table to link together clients and packages, and then individual information about a specific client on a specific package. So what we could do in here is first bring in the client, and we can link this to the client. We'll just want to link this to one, so we'll do that. Skip that there. And then we're going to want to link this to a package. So package, we're going to link this to packages. We'll just link that to one. Skip that. All right, so now we might want to build in some information about this. So we could say, I like to use, in this instance, this primary field here on the left. I want to bring this information together. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to call this like a project ID, and I'm going to use a formula field for this, and I'm going to concatenate information. So I'm going to bring in, I'm going to put different bits of information in together. So I'll just start typing concatenate, and then I'm going to say I want to bring in the client name, and then we'll do a comma, and I have to do a little parentheses, and I'm going to put a dash between them, and we'll say the package. So what I can do here is link these things together. So I can say Joe's Plumbing, and the package he's on is bronze, right? So now we can see this project is Joe's Plumbing bronze care plan package. So we can build in a lot of things like the status of this. So we can say single select, and we could build in different statuses. For this example, we could just say if they're active or canceled. And we can even color these options, which is handy sometimes when you want to see things at a glance. You can also put emojis in here, which I use all over my bases. So we can say he's active. We can have start and end dates. So we could say start date for his care plan, start date. We could have end date. We'll put in another date field. And then we could look up like the price of this care plan package. So we would do this with a lookup field. So we would go in here and look up the price of this package. So we're going to look up the package, and we're going to look up the retail price, let's say. So we'll create that field there, and it's automatically going and looking at, okay, well, this line in this database is on the bronze, and we know the price of the bronze by jumping into that packages and seeing the price of the bronze, right? So it will just pull that in here so we can see it inside of this view. Now you might want to collect all kinds of information on your care plan clients, right? So you might want to say who built the site. So we could say built by. I like to use single select fields for as many things as I can because I like the way I can keep all my data clean and not type things in differently, like in a single line of text. I might get willy-nilly. So we could just give ourselves two options. Let's say we either built this in-house or another agency, or we might even say DIY, the customer built it themselves, right? So it'd be good to know these care plan clients we have, who built the website, right? Is it a nightmare because somebody else built it, or did we build it? We could do things like the hosting, so we could keep track of where the site's hosted. Again, I'll probably do a single select on this, and we could say, Cloudways, Kinsta, GoDaddy, right? So those might be the servers we have. So we could say, he's on Cloudways. So I'm trying to think of the easiest way. I have some of this data already built out. I might just pull this base in here instead of doing all this live. I think that's what I'll do. So I was playing with this earlier to make sure I wouldn't screw all of this up on the call. So this is essentially the same base, except it's further along. So you can see we have the project ID in here. I called it good, better, best instead of bronze, silver, gold. But we have all the clients, the package they're on, the status of it, their start date, the end date. We can see this one is canceled, and we have an end date here. The price that's being looked up. Here's one that we didn't actually already build, and this is a lifetime value formula. So what this formula is going to do is take the start date and the end date and the price and figure out how much this customer is worth to us over the lifetime of their account. So this one's a little bit more complex because for any current customer, we don't have an end date. So we're having to figure out the date it is right now and then see how much they've paid us, right? So from now back to when they started, how many months is that? And then how much do they pay per month? And then spit us out the price, right? So that's what this formula is doing here. So we can see, this customer's been with us since September 15th of 2021. They pay $75, so they've paid us $300. This customer just started in January, so they've only paid us their care plan once. They're only worth $100. This customer just started 3 days ago, so they haven't really accrued any value yet. But we could go back and look at somebody like this who had a start date and an end date. They were paying a $200 care plan package and they were on there for several years. Well, the lifetime value of that client was $7,600. So it's a nice way to see like what each one of your clients is worth to you over time. So I've added other things you might want to add in here. So like we did, who the site was built by, where the site's hosted, where are the DNS records, who's the domain registrar, what kind of analytics are installed, did we send them a WOM, do we have uptime monitoring set up, what kind of payment method do they use, so is it a check or is it auto pay? And what's nice about this, collecting all this information, obviously when you need to go look it up, you're not like, oh shit, who has that domain? Is it in my account? Is it in their account? Which account's it in? You have all that information here, which is handy. But you could also use this to create some views where you might need to do some work on some clients. So what I did in here was set up, basically, this is going to filter out just the care plan clients where I need to go work on some things. So I've set up tons of filters in here. The first one just says where the status is not canceled, because obviously if it's canceled, I don't need to work on it. But I just want to show records where where this information's blank. So let's say where I haven't set up uptime monitoring, or I haven't sent them a WOM. Or if, like right now, I'm in the process of moving all my clients from Google Analytics to Fathom Analytics. So I want to show if the analytics is Google or the analytics is none, because I know I still need to move them. I don't like clients paying me by check. So if they're on check, maybe I want to see that so I can try to get them on auto pay. Or if I haven't filled in any of the information, I need to go find out all that information and fill it in. So you could have a view like this to go, okay, I have free time today, which we know doesn't exist, but let's say it did. I'm going to jump in here and see which one of these care plans need work. And I can go in and see all these fields that are highlighted in green are the ones that are being used in these filters. So I know those are important. And I can see here, hey, I don't know the domain registrar of Pete's SEO, right? So I need to go find that information and put it in here. Or I haven't sent him a WOM, or I haven't set up the uptime monitoring for Pat's Pizza, right? But of course, once I fill that out here, there's probably some other information I don't have on this one. This one should have gone away. I'm trying to see why it didn't go away. I don't know. I won't go into that now. But once you cleared out all that information, I obviously screwed something up. Once you clear out all that information and it no longer needs work, it would go out of this view. So you'd only have incomplete data in this one for you to go work on. So that's kind of what I wanted to work on this live build in a practical exercise. I do keep all this information myself inside my project management board. So all of my care plan clients, all this information is housed inside that project management board, so I can get to it basically anytime I need. I'm going to take a deep breath and get a drink of water. So start thinking of some questions and we'll jump into that.
Have you played around with the colors where you could flag a record and be like, okay, if they haven't sent the WOM or they're paying by check, all the things you don't want. Yeah. The color coding. Have you messed around with that yet?
Yeah. So that option is available inside of Airtable, only on the Pro version though. So I didn't bring that up in this webinar because I wanted to do everything only in the free version and restrict myself to that. But for instance, in the project management base, I showed you I had an automation set up that moved the status of something from like proofing to stalled. When a client hasn't responded in so many days or that status hasn't been changed in so many days. In my actual project management base, I use the color feature for that. So it gets a big red block next to it when a project stalled. So I know that record needs attention. So I use it in exactly the way you're saying, those color coding things to know that I need attention on that. I may have even stole that idea from you, so credit due. Everybody should have got the email that signed up for this, but Noah is a wizard with Airtable. He has a free Airtable 101 course, so if this was your first time looking and I'm talking over your head and none of this makes sense, I would look at that email I sent you and go sign up for his Airtable 101 course, and that'll get you through a ton of that. He also has built an entire program called Agency X-Ray that has an amazing Airtable base with like every bit of information you could want to collect on. A lot of it's built around like your sales process, your marketing and things like that, but you can track all that. He's done an amazing job with that. And there's information in those emails as well about his Agency X-Ray course.
Damn, what a plug.
There you go. Plug away. And I do have a coupon code in there too. It's linked to my affiliate account, but if you use the admin bar, all one word, I think you get like 30% off. So even better. All right. Other questions?
Did you say you had info about that in the email for this event?
Yeah. No, if you got links handy, I don't have them all handy, but if you have
I got
handy,
links,
and we'll drop links in the chat here. We'll make sure everybody has that. His website has several different like free things you can go through on that page he just linked. There's like a section there of all his free stuff, and obviously he's promoting his course as well, but there's all kinds of free stuff you can learn from in there. Other questions? No questions. I answered everything about Airtable today. We didn't lose that many people. There's still 45 people in this call. I'm pretty surprised.
Carol, I got a question.
Let's hear it.
You're in Airtable all the time.
All the time.
For running your agency, what would you say the data you look at on a daily basis? Where are you spending most of your time in your data for your agency?
So I'm spending most of my time in tasks because the way my day-to-day job and your day-to-day job are a lot different, right? So you have an agency where you have people doing the work for you and you're in charge managing things, making sure everything's going on, right? In my agency, it's just me. So I'm the grunt in there doing the work. So I'm really locked into all my tasks. So I constantly have that project management board open, and it's almost always open to tasks, and I'm working through all those tasks. So for me, that's where it all is. What's nice about tracking all that in Airtable is if I'm good about logging every task into Airtable, and sometimes I'm not great about that, I just like go do it and forget to log it or not bother logging it. But if I'm good about logging that, I can go back and open any project from any point in time and see every task I ever did with it, when I did it, what went back and forth on it. All that information is there, and that comes in really handy if you track like so many tasks for a client for a care plan a month. You could do all that in Airtable. If you wanted to go back and say, hey, I know I've proofed this thing 10 times for a client, you could go back and see how many times have you moved these tasks into proofing, right? So for me, the majority of my agency stuff is there inside the task, but all the projects as well, and seeing like where my recurring revenue's at and all those kinds of things. But most of my time is in that project management base.
Are you syncing anything with, and I've thought about doing this, but I won't do it. But are you seeing anything with your like invoicing or like accounting software as far as the money back and forth? Like when you're saying this project was X amount of dollars, you're probably pulling that from your proposal software or something like that, like manually, like I'm doing.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely. I haven't.
It's not like we're doing 1 million projects a year, right?
Right.
It's like copy and pasting a number like, 20, 30 times a year. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I'm sure you can set up Zaps for everything. There's tons of Zapier integration for Airtable as well. But yeah, I've just, it's not been a big enough pain in the ass that I've bothered.
That's Kyle, I have a question.
Yeah.
So we've been universally unsuccessful for years in getting clients at all to interface with project management software. And I don't. One of the thoughts that we've had is, hey, you want to at least see your shit. You're not going to actually interact with it, and so we've sort of thought about using Airtable in this way, where we create client views. Not that they're really. Not that's participatory, but that's just a view where they can actually see things. Is that something you've done? Is that something you've been successful with?
I have one client that I do that with. I think everybody has that problem. Like clients don't want to get in another tool, right? But I have one client where we do a ton of ongoing work, and then I'll send him an email on Friday with like everything that's going on, and it's just like a giant list, and he can't keep up with all the emails I send and stuff. It gets to be a nightmare on his end. I'm nice and organized on my end. I know where everything's at, but he's not, right? Because he's just seeing the other side, like the emails coming in. So I did exactly what you're saying. I set up a view that only shows projects that are attached to him as a customer, and then he can see the status on all those. He can see all the relevant information, like if I've put in a URL for him to review or Google Docs for him to go read. All that information's there. I actually set up like a pretty link on my website, where if you went to like my website / and then his name, that automatically redirects to that Airtable base. So he doesn't even have to remember the link, really. He just has to remember his name to be able to get to it, right? So I tried to make it super easy. Have I used it successfully? He does use it. He probably doesn't utilize it as much as he could, but if he needs to go find everything, I do tell him all the time, like, if you need the information, it's all in the project management. Like, you can go get all the links from the project management. So I remind him of that all the time. So it is possible. I do this exactly what you said, creating views. If you were trying to do that for 50 customers, that's probably a nightmare. Maybe there's a more dynamic way to do that I haven't thought of, but I just have one customer, so I never spend any more time on it.
Got it. Okay. We're thinking about it for a marketing client. So it would be, what are the tasks? Like, what is the calendar looking forward? So anyway, so it would be a bit different, and I think it'd be fairly universal. But yeah. Thank you. That's helpful.
Alicia just made a comment here inside the chat too, that she's got dashboards set up for clients as well.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Christina Romero covers that in her, this is specifically her care plan. She covers that in her care plan course. So my database I use is kind of a mashup of Noah's agency X-ray and Christina's stuff she does for the care plans. And then I've added a few things that Kyle does, but she has a view
what a Frankenstein.
Yeah. She has a view for the specific support time for each client every month. And so I have that viewable for the clients to see. They can click it in their individual dashboard. So you could probably set up something like that where they can see just the data for that specific client for themselves. Because you can embed it, like the one Kyle's talking about, he did for his client. He actually created a web page and embedded it. But when I do it on the dashboards, it's just like a link directly to the Airtable base.
Thank you. It's very helpful.
Go ahead, Beth.
I'd like to back up just a little bit to what you guys were talking about. Like, did you automate that thing that you do like 30 times a year or whatever? No, I just cut and paste it. So I would just like to give a word of caution that because we're geeky, you get down into this stuff and you're going to want to try to automate everything. And it's better to start and do some things manually first, because then you figure out exactly how it needs to be automated. Best advice I ever got from Brad Morrison: do it manually first.
Yeah, I agree. And I will say, just, I'm trying to remember now what it was like when I was first starting out with Airtable, but I know for a fact I've rebuilt everything 20 times since I started. Like, some of these bases were bases that I started with, and I've destroyed them, blew them up, and started over multiple times. So I would say you're probably better off starting with something simple with only the data you know you need, add it as you need it, and don't try to like, I'm going to plan the entire world and then go put in all your data, because you're going to have to redo it. Like, you're just going to learn you should have done something differently. So I would start small and let it kind of grow into what you need. And that's, when I did all these demos, I tried to keep them very succinct, to just what information you need. All right.
So
anybody else?
Correct in saying, Kyle, that the learning curve on Airtable for somebody brand new to it, I mean, you obviously have years of experience in it now, and I definitely am experiencing a bit of overwhelm just watching you use it. Because there's a lot of if, then, and that, and formulas and things. If you were starting off brand new, this looks like something that's going to take a lot of learning, does it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on your experience. Like, if you already love spreadsheets, I love spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are great. I don't love spreadsheets as much as I love Airtable now, but I've always been somebody that loved data inside of a spreadsheet. So my mind already kind of worked that way. I think today I wasn't trying to give anybody like a tutorial on this is how you use Airtable necessarily. So if you're not super familiar with it, I can see how today's completely overwhelming. I would highly suggest Noah's course. That will get you up and running on a few things. There's a YouTube channel called Gap Consulting, and it's a guy named Gareth Pronovost. He has a bazillion and one Airtable videos. You don't even have to remember his name. Just search Airtable, and you'll find him, and like 90% of the videos are him doing stuff in Airtable. It's a fragmented way to learn it because it's just little bits here and there, but you learn a ton doing that. But I think for simple stuff, it's, a day or two, you're going to feel fairly comfortable. It's when you get into like the lookup fields and roll up fields and formulas and linking everything together. That's when like your mind kind of turns into Swiss cheese a little bit and you got to figure it out. So that does take a little bit of time, and I'm still learning a ton on that. I'm definitely not in advanced category on any of those things. But I think part of this is just going to be like, does your mind work this way? I feel like for some people, they look at Airtable and they're like, oh my God, this is perfect. This solves all the problems I had. And that's how I felt. And I think some people would spend 6 months with this and say, I hate this. This doesn't make any sense. I don't like it whatsoever. So I think it's kind of like how you see data, could make a huge difference on that.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kyle. So obviously the learning curve when you're building it is going to be there. What about the learning curve? As you can tell, I'm looking at using this for project management with a team.
Right.
If you're kind of like the end user, just going in and checking boxes or adding data, that seems like it's pretty straightforward. Am I?
Yeah. I think
am I right about that?
So I have somebody that does some VA level work for me time to time. I set up everything in an Airtable base, of course. They go in there and like check tick boxes, change statuses on things, which is just like a drop down field. I spent 5 minutes maybe training them on how to I set up specific views that only shows the information they need to be able to see and nothing else. And then told them, you switch this to that, you switch that to this, you press this checkbox. So that kind of stuff is pretty easy if you're not having them like go build out tables. It's the building out that's complex. The actual like entering data is pretty simple. All right. Well, then we went only 21 minutes over what I anticipated. I did set up, and only if this is helpful to you, I'm going to drop a link in the chat here. I set up the 6 bases that we went over at the beginning of this this call. So the 6 I walked you through, I set up all of those for sale for $40 for all 6 of them. They come with all 6 of those bases that you can just clone and use. And I did walkthrough videos. The walkthrough videos are 5 minutes to 10 minutes long, depending on how complex that base is. There's about 40 minutes worth of videos there that will teach you how to use everything in that base. So if you're interested, you want to get a head start on some of those things, you're totally welcome to. As we went through all this today, you could go back and watch this replay and probably rebuild everything. I think I showed you everything in there, so you're welcome to just go the free route and just rebuild it yourselves. But if you want the shortcut, it's there, and I'll probably just leave that up through the weekend or something. So hopefully that's helpful to somebody. All right, so we'll wrap this up. Everybody let me know if you have questions on Airtable. I'm a geek about these things, so I would love to answer them. Noah's the leader of the admin of a group that's Airtable for like web agencies. If you got a link to that, Noah, you might drop that inside this chat.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of web agencies in here that like Airtable apparently. So a new Facebook group for you to join inside there. Obviously, Noah's got lots of good information in there. I'll send out an email after this is over, probably after I eat lunch when this is over, and give you all the links to everything again so you have everything there. But anyways, appreciate everybody showing up today. Everybody out on YouTube that was watching live, but especially those of you who joined here inside the Zoom call. I really like doing these kinds of like live not all of us together in a room working on things. So we'll have to come up with some more ideas on some of these. So awesome. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend, and we will catch you all inside the group. Bye-bye.